We're still on 14.1. 397. I'm going to talk about the different eras of geologic time, and then we're going to go do a little demonstration on the geologic time scale, and then if we have extra time, we'll look at fossils, which are pretty cool. So again, this is 14.1, page 397. Now, you need to go ahead and memorize the names of the 4 big geological eras. And what I'll do today is I'll start from oldest and go to newest. And they are Precambrian.
What about Paleozoic?
Get to it. Be able to see a little better on camera. Precambrian, Paleozoic, Mesozoic, Cenozoic. These are the 4 major time periods of geologic time.
Drop the Paleozoic in before Precambrian.
No, Precambrian first, then Paleozoic, then Mesozoic, then Cenozoic.
See on the board.
Yes.
What does Zoic have like a specific meaning that's on the end of those words?
Good question. I don't know what Zoic means. Something to do with time, probably.
Alright.
I don't know. So let's talk about Precambrian time first. Precambrian time, this is the longest time period of all the 4 of them. And I will show it to you when we do this demonstration. It is an enormous time period. It goes all the way from 4.6 billion years ago to 600 million years ago. It's 85% of Earth's history is Precambrian time. And what went on back then? Well, the Earth formed. The Earth accumulates, and if you take astronomy, we'll talk about how that happens. It's a complicated process. It has to do with gravity and hydrogen gas. Anyway, the Earth forms. The first oldest fossils that we see are about 3.5 billion years ago.
Aren't those, did we learn about the cells, prokaryotic?
The simple prokaryotic cells. And then 2.7 billion years ago, there was oxygen in the atmosphere. If you were to go back in time before 2.7 billion years ago, you wouldn't be able to breathe. Hello? Yes, Vanessa's here. Oh, okay. Thanks. Okay. Okay, Bennett, can you take over there? You're next in line. Thank you.
Oh, Vanessa, you lucked out.
We'll get her to do it tomorrow. The next time period, then we finally get eukaryotes, single-celled creatures, came around about 2.2 billion years ago. Protists, like amoebas, come around about 1.4 billion years ago. And we don't really see anything. All of these creatures are microscopic, living in the oceans. Life evolved in the oceans, and we'll talk about that later. But we don't really see any large creatures that are big enough to see with the naked eye until about 600 million years ago. So most of Earth's history, there is nothing you could see with the naked eye living. It was all microscopic creatures. And that's Precambrian time. Then you have your Paleozoic era. Your Paleozoic is actually divided into 6 time periods: the Cambrian, the Ordovician, the Silurian, the Devonian, the Carboniferous, and the Permian. You don't have to know all those.
So what do we have to know for these? Just the
names of these eras and the organisms that existed in each, which you can read about tonight. There are,
like the first vertebrae.
If you look on page 398, it's got a couple paragraphs about each one.
Gotcha.
The Precambrian, the Paleozoic, the Mesozoic, and the Cenozoic.
399.
So you basically just need to summarize each of those.
So those four are the
Those
only
four.
ones we have to know?
That's what you have to know.
Okay.
So anyway, what happened in the Paleozoic? Well, you get plants and animals come onto land. You get things coming out of the ocean onto land. That's the big thing that happened in the Paleozoic. The land fills up with plants. Plants growing everywhere. We only had forests then. No forests on land in the Precambrian. Land was just all rock. You get your reptiles, amphibians and reptiles come onto land and start to grow and multiply.
So for the mass extinctions, when they change eras or whatever, does everything die out?
No, not everything dies out in a mass extinction, but a lot of things do.
Like
80%.
80%?
Mass extinctions are due to meteor impacts. They hit the earth and throw up a bunch of material and block out a lot of sunlight, and a lot of things die when that happens. But not everything dies. And some mass extinctions killed 50% of what was on the earth. This mass extinction right here was the biggest, no wait, it's this one, was the biggest mass extinction that ever happened. It wasn't the one that killed the dinosaurs. Almost 90% of life on Earth died during that mass extinction.
Oh my god.
How long do mass extinctions take?
The one that killed the dinosaurs was just like 5 years. It was a big impact. All this stuff dies. We're in a mass extinction right now.
Really?
Did you know that?
That's depressing.
The mass extinction caused by humans.
What?
Yeah, tons of animals.
We scientists think that about 90% of life on the planet has died in the last 300 or 400 years because of humans. Pollution, cutting down forests, overfishing, all of that. So this will be looked on if you go into the future 50 million years and they look back, if there still are people, who knows, they'll say that was the human proliferation mass extinction. Some of the mass extinctions didn't occur because of that. Often when you have, you all know that continents move around on plates?
Yeah.
And sometimes,
Plate
we'll
tectonics.
talk about that in a minute. Sometimes the plates bash together, and when two continental plates bash together, it creates so many volcanoes that they spew up so much stuff in the atmosphere that it's just like a meteor it hit. And that also will cause mass extinctions.
How do they know that?
So why does everyone think?
There's lots of evidence for that. Geologically, there is layers of ash all over the earth from stuff that's settled out and that can be dated. You can date the age of rocks and mountain ranges. Mountain ranges form when continents collide, and we can date the ages of the formation of the mountain ranges and compare them to the mass extinction times, and they match.
So every single time a mountain was formed, everything on Earth was destroyed?
No, not every single time. Just when huge, long mountain ranges.
Like the Rocky.
So stupid. What's it?
So, the next thing that came about was the Mesozoic Era. The Mesozoic Era was the time of the dinosaurs. And the dinosaurs came about, evolved from reptiles, and eventually became huge and kind of the dominant organism on land. There was also plants evolving at this time into larger forms, and this is the Mesozoic is really when you got your first trees like we see today. Early trees in the Paleozoic were actually large ferns, fern-like trees that grew big. But trees like you see out there came around in the Mesozoic era, along with the dinosaurs. Yes?
How come the reptiles evolved? How come only the reptiles? Like, why were dinosaurs like created? Like how?
We'll get to that. Reptiles actually came from amphibians. Amphibians came from fish. So then there's steps that we'll see, and we're going to study each type of organism in detail. We spend a whole chapter on reptiles, a whole chapter on amphibians, a whole chapter on fish, a whole chapter on mammals, and in each of those chapters we talk about the evolution of where those organisms came from. So we're going to go through this slowly. Dinosaur video?
So is this, are we doing more of this like evolution stuff than we are like cells and whatnot?
About the same.
I think it's cool.
Oh man,
Oh, Drew, you should have told me.
couldn't open either of those.
Dinosaurs.
I think you gotta quit the PowerPoint. Start over.
Now, during the Mesozoic Era, we get a lot of plate tectonics. Plate tectonics is the movement of the continents. And we see 225 million years ago, all the continents were together in one landmass. We call that landmass Pangea. And Pangea broke apart and eventually spread out to form today's continents.
I have a question.
Yes.
On that little picture,
Yes.
is the brown thing Australia or is the pink thing Australia?
Where's America?
That's Australia, that's India.
Where's America?
Why would the brown thing be all the way over there if it was Australia?
Yeah, where's America?
Right here.
That's a
This is a terrible. Not Asia, that's red. I'm talking about the one.
Then why are we connected to Asia?
Because it was Pangea.
Hold on, let's watch
The
this.
theory of continental drift describes the movement of the land masses over geological time. About 245 million years ago, the continents were joined in a landmass known as Pangea. By 135 million years ago, Pangea broke apart, resulting in two large land masses. By 65 million years ago, the end of the Mesozoic, most of the continents had taken on their modern shapes.
I think I have a better one than that. This is a better one than that. Oh, something's wrong.
I think Graham's right. Yeah, you have to close it and start it again. Happens. Is that deer? Yeah.
They're antelope.
No, do not save the changes. Hold on. I can't find anything now.
Oh god.
Right here?
Offline. I'm offline now.
Because the server. It's because the server's down, bro.
Oh no.
Drew, why did you sell the push it?
We can do our labs.
Who told me to go out and then come back?
It worked. I wasn't just saying.
Oh, it worked.
Bro, it's because the server.
I tell you what.
Can we do our lab?
Let's go do the.
The server's down, bro.
No. Why y'all getting up? Oh, I thought you said go to the lab. We're going to. You don't just get up and start running. I gotta tell you what to do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wanted to break it down.
Pangea. P-A-N-G-E-A. Okay.
Do we need anything?
What we're gonna do is I'm gonna give everybody, hopefully I have enough, a marker. And we're gonna go outside and we're gonna place the marker at certain times. Important spots in evolution. The big markers, the big wooden posts, are when each era started. So we'll put the post at the beginning of each era so you can see how long the 4 eras are. Again, early time, life only in the oceans. Things start moving on the land like plants and simple animals, amphibians, and reptiles. The dinosaurs evolve in the Mesozoic. The dinosaurs die at the end of the Mesozoic. And in the Cenozoic is the age of mammals when the mammals spread around.
Do we need anything? Or just...
Yeah, when did God come in?
Or Here you go.
Jesus run the earth.
When was God involved?
I mean, it could have been the Precambrian, but
Well,
the
it's
Greeks.
Greek.
But I mean, don't you know when he was born? Yes, when he was born, not in the early.
He would be born.
Yeah, so there's
in the middle of the Cenozoic. Yeah, but I'm talking about like Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
That is the beginning of the Cenozoic. The Cenozoic?
Oh, I think I have just enough.
Yeah, some people.
Oh, look at that. Look how good you are.
How?
Yes, they're the first people.
Yeah,
Don't get any better.
Okay, listen. Can you, Bennett, can you turn that off?
That's a sign.
Okay.